Women are powerful creators. The Align Women podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. I'm your host, Amy Evans. I have authentic, intimate conversations with my guests that highlight their paths to success, their struggles and accomplishments, and the things that currently excite, motivate, and inspire them to turn their visions into reality. Welcome to the Align Women podcast. I'm Amy Evans, your host and the founder of Align Women, a leadership and networking organization for professional women. This podcast features female leaders, entrepreneurs, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. And with me today is the delightful Chris Roberts. She is an ERISA attorney and a partner at Mullen & Hensel in Santa Barbara, California. She's incredibly knowledgeable and patient and has been a great resource for me as an employee benefits broker. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Amy.
So let's jump into what the heck is an ERISA attorney and what is it that you do to help your clients?
Well, that's a wonderful question, open-ended question. There's very few attorneys whose whole practice is under the umbrella of one piece of law, and I'm one of them. ERISA is the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974. It was signed into law by Gerald Ford. It's grown. Its umbrella has spread to encompass a number of other related areas of law, like health privacy under HIPAA, the Affordable Care Act. But it's essentially a law that is a federal law that governs benefits employers provide to employees. And it needed to be federal because so many employers have employees in different states. Mm-hmm. And if those employers had to mind each state's laws with differing requirements, it would be really, really hard to offer sort of, a cohesive, comprehensive benefit system. So, yeah.
Tell me what falls under the definition of employee benefits, because for me, through the lens of being an employee benefits broker, I think about things like health insurance and dental and vision and life. There are actually a lot of other things that you handle, like pension plans. So tell me what sort of falls under that umbrella.
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And ERISA talks about pension or retirement plans on the one hand, and what ERISA likes to call, in its old-fashioned 1970s way, health and welfare. Mm-hmm. And health and welfare is your medical, dental, vision, group term life, short-term disability, long-term disability, employee assistance programs. Cafeteria plans is another adjunct to the benefits world. And so it's all of the above. Yeah, I work with brokers. I work with plan sponsors who have the plans for their employees. And that's the row I hoe in my legal career.
What attracted you to that area of law?
Oh, this is a women's story. And since this is a Women's Aligned podcast, I'm going to focus on the female aspect of it.
Yeah.
There's really two different ways to approach this that relates to women. First of all, it was at a women's college, Wellesley College in Massachusetts, that I met a friend, Sue Jacobson, who I followed to UCLA Law School and followed to my second job out of law school at a union side labor law firm in LA that had an ERISA practice. They helped those big basically entertainment industry union plans collect contributions from employers, so pension plans and health and welfare plans. So it was Wellesley College, Sue Jacobson, union side labor law firm, benefits practice. And then the other thing about ERISA that I've noticed over the years is that there are a lot of women practitioners, because I think like areas in medicine like pathology and dermatology, as opposed to maybe surgery or emergency medicine, it is a way to practice a profession and have a somewhat balanced life. Mm-hmm. So I think it attracts women who, not only bear the children, but are saddled with so much of the aftercare of having children. Right. No matter how equitable they try to work things out in their household, so much of it falls to the women.
I think that's such an interesting point. And all of the ERISA attorneys I know, and I actually know 4, which seems like a lot. I mean, you're such a specialized field, but all the ERISA attorneys I know are women. Super smart, super, might I even say lovingly, super nerdy, really good at the technical pieces of the law, and all women. So that it makes sense to me when you explain it that way, why that would be an attractive field.
Well, and let's say another thing about ERISA. It is not the most lucrative way to be a lawyer. I mean, Yes, it is. It is you make a great living. It's interesting work. And I've always loved the aspect of it that is, giving back to the employees and the employers in terms of tax deductions. It's sort of positive. But if you're, raising a family, and a lot of times it's still the man who's sort of the main breadwinner, it's not super lucrative. For instance, in ERISA litigation, there's no way to get the pain and suffering, the amounts that the attorney's fees come off of. It's very hard to get attorney's fees in ERISA. There's not a big payday in ERISA. When we win our cases, we get the benefits restored to the participants that should have been there to begin with. And so it's not a big splashy payday, and it's not a super lucrative profession. It is, so that is another aspect that may mean that, men may, be attracted to areas of law where there is a bigger payday.
That totally makes sense, and sort of more flash and more pomp and circumstance that the women aren't necessarily looking for. And this is a great transition to our next topic. A very service-oriented mindset, right? Not looking for the glory, but really looking to help people. And in our pre-interview conversation, one of the questions that I asked you was about one of your biggest professional accomplishments. And I love the way you put it. You said, the times I've helped individuals recoup benefits that were denied them through mistake or misadventure. And so you mentioned specifically helping a client with a pension that he was owed from a company he stopped working with 30 years ago. So tell me that story. That's fascinating to me.
Tell you that story. I've got a similar one on the health and welfare side you'll love too, that involves a major act of God. But talking about the pension one, this was somebody who worked at an aerospace type industry and stopped working there in 1993 and had one piece of paper, kind of a mimeographed piece of paper, saying that he was a participant in a pension plan and that when he reached the age of 65, he would get X dollars per month. And that's all he had. And he turned 65 and he tried to reach the administrator's contact information on the page, but they were long gone. The information cold, and he tried for several years, and he finally found me. And all I did was look up the tax return. Even though pension plans aren't taxed, they file returns called Form 5500s, and they're in a database online at the Department of Labor. Mm-hmm. So you plug in the name or the employer identification number, and up pops a return showing that a final closeout return for a terminated plan was submitted. And it looked like another company had submitted the return. So it looked like the company that had sponsored his plan had been bought. Mm-hmm. And I was able to connect with general counsel for the company that bought his company. And through general counsel was able to connect with a paralegal, submit a claim for him. And he's going to get several $100,000. Yeah. It's some of it's going to be paid in a catch up, and some of it's going to just be paid over time. And he's a happy camper.
I bet he is. I imagine that was a life-changing thing that you did for him.
It was. And one of the facts that made it an easy case for me, there was very little lawyering. It was really more housekeeping on my part. The guy had never moved, never changed his phone number in all of these years since 1993. He was in the same home. And so when a lot of times the company was saying, well, we tried and
right.
Got returned. We're like, right. No, there's absolutely no chance that if you actually reached out to this person, they weren't exactly where they were in 1993. And so I have to say, like I said, the stars really aligned on this one. It really required not much more than housekeeping on my part. Do you have time for the other quick story?
I do. I have one follow-up question on that one, which is, was it the employer's responsibility to continue to communicate with him? And was it their breakdown, even the company that purchased the company that went out of business? Did that purchasing employer still had a responsibility to communicate to the people that were eligible for that pension?
Great follow-up question. And it tees up a recent compliance point, because the Department of Labor has come out with missing participant best practices. The Department of Labor is very concerned about participants who go missing. And this person absolutely went missing because we went into the plan, record keeper's database, and he just wasn't there. So absolutely, one of the things the Department of Labor has teed up as a compliance inflection point is mergers and acquisitions and changes in plan sponsor, and how when you communicate to participants, the employers should use the old name, original name of the company in the plan. In other words, if it's, Widget Co., don't send out something from Widget Co., because if Widget Co. bought Basket Co., only they're just going to be concerned about Basket Co. So the Department of Labor is very conscious of this. Is absolutely the company that got acquired. It may have happened a couple of times. Should have checked its database of participants before records get transferred over, and the companies acquiring them should have done some due diligence about making sure that nobody was falling through the cracks.
And if you were going to do that due diligence and follow those best practices, hiring an ERISA attorney would be a really good way to be sure that all your I's were dotted and T's were crossed, right?
Yeah, I mean, so much of this is there's vendors who help you do this, and record keepers. A lot of this is on the record keeper side, but it's absolutely on the side of the heads of human resources and heads of benefits to make sure that the record keeper transition is seamless, and that there's a data in, data out, point for point mapping of our participant data when these transitions happen, for sure. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, tell me the other one.
The other one is a great one. It was a couple in the Santa Barbara area who had a $60,000 medical bill, and they came to me saying, if you can't help us, do you know a good bankruptcy attorney? I mean, that was literally their opening.
Wow.
And this person, one of the couple, had worked for a company in Texas, and had been admitted to the hospital with emergency surgery needs on literally the last day they could elect COBRA. And so in order to get them processed in, they had to do the COBRA election, and the hospital faxed the COBRA election to the employer. And it was like Hurricane Harvey or Hurricane, it was a big storm. And the fax did not go through.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of the actual storm event, because it was a big one. Long story short, and of course, so their claim got denied.
Right.
And it was a $60,000 medical bill. And the beauty part of it, again, this really wasn't much lawyering on my part. It was really sort of housekeeping. The Department of Labor had issued a proclamation of sorts, a notice, an update that said that deadlines, benefit deadlines that fell during that storm event were waived.
Mm.
And that's all we needed. I just sent one letter, a copy of the DOL announcement, and the claim got paid. And the client was not contemplating a bankruptcy filing. And that was, these are the things that, so much of my job is sort of mopping up messed up 401k plans and doing things for corporations. And that's great. And I know it benefits participants ultimately, but that sort of face-to-face helping of somebody and lifting a financial burden is just what really, really makes my day and makes my career feel meaningful.
And you've said twice when you've told those stories that it was really housekeeping. Don't minimize the value that you bring. Your stories remind me of that sort of well-told story. There's a couple versions of it about, a big machine breaks down at a company, and they call in a specialist to fix it. And the specialist stands there, looks at this machine with hundreds of dials, walks up to one, turns it, the machine starts back up again. She hands an invoice to the company for $10,000. And the person at the company says, $10,000, all you did was walk in and turn a dial. And she says, yes, but I knew which dial to turn.
Thank you. That's a lovely analogy. It's true. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is there were no novel legal theories, but you're right. It really was sort of knowing the dial to turn. And in order to know the dial to turn, you had to have a breadth of experience and amount of time in the game that I've fortunately at this point in my life, I can boast of. And so they felt easy to me. But the thing that was just so awesome was the thank you notes, the thank you cards. Those are wonderful, wonderful reminders of what it's all about and what it's all for.
Yeah, I call those demonstrations of impact, and those are the most meaningful things for me as well, which is not a quantifiable, right? Impact is not it's a different thing for everybody, but being able to know that you impacted someone's life like that, I understand why that feels so good.
And you and I get the benefit of having a job that has intangibles for us that keep us in the game, that inspire us, that lift us up. And I think that's a wonderful gift in life, to have the part of your life that puts bread on your table to also be something that has these intangible rewards.
For sure. So let's talk about another demonstration of your expertise, which is your blog, which is called E4 ERISA. And that's the website, E4ERISA.com. And this is a beautiful, technical, I'm going to use the term again because I love it, nerdy, deep dive into particular issues under ERISA law. So talk about why you started that, because you're celebrating your 10th anniversary, and that is a long time to have a consistent blog.
Yes, I started it because the Affordable Care Act came about in 2010, and I couldn't keep up fast enough with the developments and keep my clients and my referral sources and colleagues apprised quickly enough through email or newsletters and so forth. So my brother, who's a computer security journalist, connected me with GoDaddy and with WordPress. And so I did at the time, vendors were offering attorneys, turnkey websites for thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think, my GoDaddy registration was $15. And I just sort of put it together and started blogging about the Affordable Care Act developments. And then over time started feeding in retirement plan, nonprofit deferred comp, which is another area I work in. I work with nonprofit orgs for their executives' deferred comp plans. And now it's got a whole host of posts from going back to 2010. The most recent two, just for listeners to get a sense of what I cover, the most recent two were sort of fast facts about the COBRA subsidy. So the COBRA subsidy under ARPA is a big deal for employers. And the most recent one was that the IRS is targeting solo 401k plans for audits. These are plans that are, solo business owners and their spouses, no rank and file employees. And they're really fully fledged 401k plans. So you have to run them and operate them in very narrow parameters, or you get some liability, and the IRS is aware of this and is singling them out. I got a lot of attention on social media because they're really prevalent. They're sold by investment advisors and CPAs, or promoted by them. And there's a lot of uptake and not a lot of sense of what the compliance landscape is like.
Yeah. Your blog is delightful. It is clear. It is as concise as can be in a field that is not always concise. I have had the honor, I think, of guest writing with you, I think twice, which has been delightful. And of course, I would love to. It is an honor to be featured on your blog. So we will post the link to that down below, and anybody can subscribe to that. I encourage you, if you are, particularly if you're in employee benefits, if you're a broker, if you're an HR professional where any of these things impact you as a company, if you're a financial advisor, a CPA, these things can touch how you operate your business or how you advise your clients. And it's really important information.
Right. And if you do subscribe, you're only going to get something in your email inbox once every month to 6 weeks. Yeah. I mean, that's about the rate at which I can keep it up. And if you go to the About page, and if you want to put in comments, any stuff you think would be great to be covered in the blog, just let me know. And there's also sort of an intake form for questions, and a disclaimer and all that good stuff, and a privacy notice and all that good stuff.
One of the things I love about your blog is that you write it when there's an issue. And so it's not like it's a sort of, how do I fill this space in with something sort of bland because there's no big issue. Whenever I get an email whenever I get an issue of your blog, I know it's because there's actually something important that you feel needs to be communicated. And that's I appreciate that.
Thanks. And hopefully even some of the retirement plan stuff crosses over to you, because I did one recently on the need to sign benefit plan documents. And, just the simple fact of signing and dating, it's a huge thing with the IRS. I mean, if you don't sign and date a retirement plan, you haven't adopted it, and all the benefits in it may not be qualified under the tax laws. Same thing for health and welfare. You got to sign and date this stuff. There's some clients who are sort of allergic to dating things, as if by dating something, they're going to be pinned down to a point in time and interrogated, and bad things will happen. And nothing bad is going to happen if you write an old date down. That's fraud. But
right.
Write the current date down. Hopefully some of that retirement stuff can cross over and be relevant to folks in the health and welfare side like you.
Well, I took that blog and I went back and I reviewed the communication that I send to my clients when I generate either new POP plan documents or wrap documents, or when I update them. And all of them have been updated recently because there was some COVID related changes to those documents. And so I made sure I emphasized as much as possible with like underlining and bold how important it is to sign those documents. So yes, the things that you put out do inform what I do and how I work with my clients.
I love hearing that there's like a life to these posts after I put them up. I love hearing that. And I also love the fortuity of not knowing any week to week what I'm going to write about when, but that moment when I know something is going to be worthy of communication and spur some creative thought. And of course, I'm always thinking of what's the value I add, because I can just regurgitate what the IRS or DOL notice says, but what is the value I add to my audience? What is the little distilled moment of all my years of experience that I can put forward and give something unique to my audience instead of just a rehash? That's why it is only every month to 6 weeks, and it isn't just sort of a continual stream of information, because continual streams of information are something that inundate our lives and don't always enrich them.
No, I don't have the bandwidth for a lot of that. So yes, I need to learn something of value in order to make me stop and take the time to absorb it, because gosh, when the legislation makes a change, that information's coming at me from 45 different places, right? And so, yes, I need to know the angle that gives me the value, that prompts me to take action, not just a rehash.
Yes.
So I appreciate the way you present information. So I gave you the opportunity to ask me a question, which not everybody takes me up on. So it's always fun for me. So if you have it in front of you, I will let you ask. And otherwise, I've got it in front of me.
I do. Insurance is a male and has for a long time been a male-dominated world. My dad and my brother are actually in the insurance business back in New England. Yeah. Do you feel you've had the opportunities and acceptance equal to those of a male business owner?
Such a good question. I love that so much. A couple of different thoughts on that, because I've been pondering it for the last few days. One of the things I adore about the area of insurance that I'm in, which is commissioned insurance sales, and I have always been in commissioned insurance sales, which means I get paid when I make a sale, is that commissions are gender neutral. There's no 70 cents on the dollar in commissioned insurance sales. And I find that to be a huge opportunity for women, or for any other group of people who maybe feels that they are discriminated against in the business world. Commission sales opens up the compensation opportunity. I have certainly pondered whether or not I get fewer or more or different opportunities to work with business owners because of maybe my gender. I choose to find other business owners that I feel connected with and align with, and those tend to be female entrepreneurs. And so I think because I can pick the clients that I want to work with, I don't have a feeling that I'm losing opportunities. I have a feeling that I'm creating opportunities. And that's probably a very entrepreneurial mindset that I think I've always had since I was little and started selling lollipops in school. So I don't feel like maybe the opportunities are out there and I'm not getting picked where other people are, because I'm not putting myself in a position to get picked. I'm going to create the things that I want.
Mm-hmm.
You did add a phrase in that question that actually, though, created another line of thinking, which was not just the opportunities, but the acceptance. And the acceptance is that's a whole other thing. On the one hand, because I create my opportunities and I work with the people I want to work with, that level of acceptance is there. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I am very outspoken mm-hmm. about things in this industry that I don't like. And in a lot of cases, that is the very difficult position that insurance agents like me are in this industry. We don't create our product. Mm-hmm. Our product is highly legislated. Mm-hmm. We don't set the price for our product. Mm-hmm. And we have no position for advocacy in the universe in which we operate. We have no leverage with carriers. If the carriers want to lower our commission, they can. There's nothing that we can do about it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very outspoken when I feel like we are not in the best position when changes are being made. Mm-hmm. And I feel like my outspokenness is probably perceived differently because I'm a woman than it would be if I was a man. I think that I'm probably judged a little more harshly than I might be, and maybe not perceived as much of an advocate, and maybe perceived a little bit more as a, loud, complainy, shrill creature than I might be perceived if I was a man fighting for the rights of the agents. And I'm okay with that. There's really nothing I can do about it. And I'm okay with that. And I find the people that I bond with and who support me, and I tune out the people who don't. But I've had some flack, and I've had some feedback, and I've had some snarky comments from men who don't appreciate my outspokenness.
Knowing that if one of their gender peers said or did the same things, it would go past without notice. I mean, it sounds to me like you're true to yourself, you're true to your message, and other people's, the friction is just collateral damage. It's part of what you need to encounter to be true to yourself and true to your message. And hopefully it will lessen with time, because the people coming up and replacing those folks who have issues might have a broader mindset.
I thank you for your perspective. I appreciate that. And I love the question, and I love that you would ask one. That's fun for me. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
They can find me at LinkedIn, Christine P. Roberts. They can find me www.e4erisa.com. They can find me at www.mullenlaw.com. And at the phone number and email address that will be posted with this recording.
We will put all that in the show notes so that people can reach out. I highly encourage you to subscribe to her blog. She's just a delightful and knowledgeable person to have in your circle. Thank you so much for joining me on the Align Women podcast today, Chris. It's been delightful to have you.
It's been a blast. Thank you, Amy.
And look for more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com. Thanks for listening to the Align Women podcast. You can find more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com, and visit alignwomen.org to learn more about our leadership and networking organization. This is Amy Evans, and you've been listening to the Align Women podcast.